Hello and welcome to Rathods IAS. Today in this session, we are going to see current affairs of 24th May 2024. So let's get started without wasting any time. So here we are taking Delhi edition of Hindu, and unfortunately in this first page of Delhi edition, there is nothing much important. But I gone through even international edition of Hindu, and in that international edition, so in first page, so there is one important image that I find very relevant from our examination point of view. So I thought that yes, I have to discuss the topic because UPSC is highly unpredictable. So we don't know from which area they will pick out the questions from prelims. So if you are clearing prelims, then 50% of your job is done, right? So now let us see that first image. So this is the image that I found very relevant from our examination point of view, and that too from our international edition of Hindu. So this image is speaking about Buddhist monks offer prayers on occasion of Buddha Purnima in Hyderabad. So here this article is very relevant from both mains and prelims, because every year you can get question either regarding Buddhism or Jainism, and this is one of the favorite areas of UPSC. And not only UPSC, if you are preparing for any other competitive examination, so this Buddhism and Jainism plays a very important role. And I can say 100% there will be no question paper without a question regarding Buddhism or Jainism. So here we are studying about Buddhism now. And this Buddhism, it is relevant from our ancient history and also from art and culture point of view. And last year in 2023 prelims, there was question regarding stupas, right? So from that way also you can get question, and how you have to prepare from ancient history and art and culture. So I will let you know the dimensions. Clear? So first you have to see some basic facts regarding Gautam Buddha. His mother name, father name, and which community he belongs to, and when at which age he left his kingdom. And you have to see 5 important events of life of Buddha. And you have to see which are the places related to those 5 events. And even you have to see what are the difficulties that he faced during enlightenment, how many years, under which tree, in which place. So those are very important. And even you have to know important truths. And from art and culture point of view, you have to see like especially stupas, and what is the stupa is depicting about life of humans, right? So that is very important. And important places of this stupa, important places and their names and their relevance. And even in this Buddhist architecture, you will be coming across cave architecture like viharas and chaityas. And you have to know about different architecture of this viharas and chaityas, and especially Ajanta and Ellora cave architecture is also relevant to Buddhism. And from art and culture point of view here, if you see images of Buddha, so they were carved based on different types of architecture, like you can see Gandhara art, Mathura art, and as well as Amaravati architecture, etc. And you have to see images of Buddha, how it is different when you are seeing Buddha which is belonging to Gandhara art, and how it had been changed to Mathura, and next one is Amaravati. So that is also very important, and frequently you can get questions from this Gandhara, Mathura and Amaravati art differences and similarities in your mains. Okay, and even you have to see different types of Buddhism. For example, you have Mahayana, Hinayana, Theravada, etc. So you have to see what are those as well, and differences. So in these areas you can expect your prelims and mains questions. And actually this article is talking about Buddha Purnima. So we have to see what is this Buddha Purnima and what is relevance. Okay. And these remaining part you have to take care about that. So if you are talking about this Buddha Purnima, so this Buddha Purnima is also known as Vesak. So it is nothing but we are celebrating the birth anniversary or birthday of this Siddhartha, Prince Siddhartha Gautama. And this Prince Siddhartha Gautama, he became our Gautam Buddha and he was the founder of Buddhism. So here this Buddha Purnima is celebrated especially in South, Southeast and East Asia. And on which day? On full moon day of Hindu month of Vaishakha. Okay, and it is considered as a triple blessed day and it marks Buddha's birth, Buddha's enlightenment and as well as Mahaparinirvana of Buddha. And even United Nations also recognized this day. That is very important. Okay, so it has been recognized by United Nations as UN Day of Vesak since 1919. Okay, 1999 onwards, United Nations even recognized this day. Because of this is very important. Clear? And now let us move on to next important topic. So if you move on to city page, even city page also I found nothing much relevant because of elections. And in states page also I didn't get any important article. So simply leave this, just move on to your editorial page. And in editorial page you have some articles which are relevant. So let me show you those articles also. And today is Friday, you have this Metro Plus and Spotlight. It is not at all relevant. So skip those Spotlight and Metro Plus also. And directly jump to your editorial page. Okay, so there is some background update is going on in this digital panel. Okay, so in the meanwhile, I will show you what is the topic. Okay, so this is our editorial page, right? So here there is one article regarding Israel and Palestine issue, and this is the issue that we are reading every day. And even yesterday's class also we discussed one article like 3 European countries, they are formally going to recognize Palestine as a state, or they are going to give formally statehood to this Palestine. That are Ireland, Norway and Spain. So already we discussed this topic in our yesterday's class. So please do watch yesterday's class for this topic. Clear? And now let us move on to another article. Yes, this is very important article. And yesterday we discussed about what is the impact of Russia-China relations on India. Right? So Russia is reaching almost all the countries in the world to increase its influence. Right? And now it wants to become a world most top power. So one such an example here is a visit to preserve Chinese interest in Europe. So actually China wants to increase its influence even in Europe now. So how can we know this, whether it is exactly correct or not, whether China is approaching Europe or not? So you may get some questions. So I want to give you answers for those questions. So yesterday what we discussed? Yesterday we discussed China and Russia. They are going to have this strategic partnership and they want to improve the strategic partnership. We discussed this, right? And why? Because this 2024 is marking 75 years of anniversary of Russia-China relations. But now in our editorial page it is saying that Russia is also approaching Europe to increase its influence. So if you see here in yesterday's class itself we discussed Russia and China, they are going to improve their relationship. But again China is going to increase its influence even in Europe. So it is a thing which is saying in today's article. So here already you know that European countries along with US, they are part of NATO. Right? And Russia is opposing US because of this NATO. So to counter this NATO, Russia came up with this Warsaw Pact. Yes or no? Warsaw Pact. So if you go back to history, okay, like around 1960s, so there was Cold War between Russia and US. At that time there are two power blocks. So one is led by US and another is by USSR. So at that time US came up with this NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And to counter this, USSR came up with this Warsaw Pact. What is that? That is Warsaw Pact. So now you know that China and Russia, they are coming together and they are increasing their partnership. and Russia, which is anti to this NATO, which is a group of US and some European countries. But now what happened because of this ex-president of US, Trump, and his Trump policies, some European countries, they are not liking this NATO. And now China is visiting some of the European countries and it wants to increase its influence in these European countries also. So how we know that? Because here Chinese president, he is going to have port call. Okay, port call. So what is this port call? Port call means whenever we are going on a transport or whenever we are doing journey on this waterways, so we can go for stopping in some areas. And here Chinese president, he is going to have port calls in 3 European countries. So because of this, we are understanding that yes, China is doing something to increase its influence even in European countries. Clear? And now what we have to see here. So you have to see in which countries China is going to have a port call, and with those 3 countries, which types of agreements China is going to have or already having with those countries. So that you have to see which are those agreements or in which areas they are having strategic partnership. And next you have to see what is the issue between China and US and how it is impacting European relations of China. And next, last but not least, we have to see what is the impact on India, because if something is done by China, that will be having impact on India, because India is sharing directly border with China. So we have to see that. So all these are very important from your mains point of view. And from your geography, from GS paper 1, you have to see map of those 3 countries. And if possible, you have to see those port cities where there is a halt, because they can give port city and country as a pairs, right? So in that way also you can expect question. So now let us see this topic in detail. Okay, let us go to the notes part. So this article is talking about global impacts of China's European strategy and how we have to change our Indian foreign policy according to that. So these are the crux of the article that you have to know. So first one here is Chinese President Xi Jinping. He is going to have a first trip to Europe except Russia in 5 years. Okay, so he is going to visit these countries, France, Serbia and Hungary. And how we came to know that he is going to have the relation with European countries? Because of his port call evidences. So what is the Xi Jinping European strategy? You have to know that. So actually Chinese, they want to increase this influence, right? So first one is they want to deepen economic ties or trade between these countries. Okay. So especially he wants to increase investment. For example, so they are going to support Hungary's growing electric vehicle industry, because you know that here semiconductors and semiconductor industries and photovoltaic cells, so China is leading. China is a leading country for supplying all those. So Hungary wants to go for electric vehicle industry. So in those vehicle industry, even lithium batteries, etc. So here China have an opportunity. So China wants to increase its potential in this European countries, especially Hungary, regarding this electric vehicle industry. It is clear, right? And now let us move on to next one, that is to divide Europe from US. So the main target of China, it is to divide Europe from US. So here Xi Jinping, he seeks to exploit European divisions. For example, French president, he favors closer economic ties with China and also opposes isolating Beijing. And even China also meets leaders of Serbia, Hungary. They are also supporting in Russia and China relations. So the countries which are supporting this Russia and China relations from Europe, so they want to use them and they want to use those countries to divide Europe from US. And this one is to counter European strategies. So especially here Xi Jinping, he aims to reverse Europe's de-risking strategy against China by emphasizing trade benefits. So in this way here, so they are making some strategic partnership with those countries which are in favor of China-Russia relations. And now let us see what division exists in Europe's relationship with US. So why these countries are going to provide support to China. So you have to know that also, right? So first one here is because of complex power dynamics. So India faces a challenge of balancing relations, for example, with US, with Russia and with China. So Europe decision it is about these powers, they will be having impact on India's foreign policies. And this one is trade and security impacts. So Europe's engagement with Russia and China, they are directly going to affect India's interest. And Europe increases its defense burden against Russia and counters China's economic influence. And even they can shape India's own strategies. And this one is US influence. So US pressures Europe to balance against Russia. And even they also wants to counter China's influence in Asia. And even that will helpful or that will impact India's regional security concerns. So this is also one important thing that you have to think. And this one is strategic opportunities. So here India has enhanced relationship with some European nations in the recent times. Yes, India is also doing some projects, and also India is coming with some comprehensive partnership agreements with some European countries. For example, France and even Nordic countries and small economic group like EFTA. EFTA is very highly seen in news. So there is a high chance of getting question regarding this EFTA and European Union, and even we can go for further strategic partnership if we need. And this one is we can focus on some security issues like Ukraine. Strengthening of trade ties could benefit India's position in this global politics. So actually what are the things that I said? So it is about how can we change India's foreign policy. Okay, how we have to shape our India's foreign policy. So we have to focus on the power dynamics, and we have to focus on how this Chinese involvement in Europe and partnership of China and Europe are increasing. So how it will be going to impact our security, and how US influence we can focus, and what are the strategic opportunities that we have, and we have to focus on even security issues. So in this way we have to shape our foreign policy according to our changing needs. And now I want to give you one question on this topic because it is very important. So question is, examine how European countries' engagement with China and Russia impacts India's foreign policies and as well as strategic opportunities. So please let me know like how you are going to answer this question in the comment box. Yes, now let us move on to next topic. So next topic is also very important. So if you move on to this opinion page, so there is one issue that is about should doctors be kept out of Consumer Protection Act or not. So here you have to see why this Consumer Protection Act is in news. So what is a tragedy and what is the case which is about medical professions, like that you have to see all these things. So let me give you the dimensions first. So this article is talking about Consumer Protection Act. It's talking about Consumer Protection Act. So you have to see why it is in news now, and you have to see earlier Supreme Court judgments. You have to see earlier Supreme Court judgments. Okay, why in news? Supreme Court judgments. And also you have to see some basic facts or provisions, basic facts or provisions of this Consumer Protection Act. And next you have to see what Supreme Court said now, and you have to see whether this medical profession should be kept out of this consumer protection or not. So what are the positives and what are the negatives? Okay, so students, if you are from medical profession, so if you clear your mains, an interview question will be based on this Consumer Protection Act and what are the advantages or disadvantages. So you have to be clear about your opinion whether this medical profession should be kept out or kept inside of this Consumer Protection Act. So be clear about this opinion. And now let us see this topic in detail, and this is important from your governance point of view. So here Supreme Court held that lawyers as professions, they could not be subjected to legal proceedings for providing faulty service under Consumer Protection Act. Okay, so this is the thing which mainly said. Supreme Court said that lawyers as professionals, they could not be subjected. So they should be exempted from this Consumer Protection Act of 2019. So this is the thing which mainly said. But here Apex Court rejected the similar arguments in the case of medical profession. And Supreme Court in this judgment of Indian Medical Association versus Shanta in 1995, so they came up with a judgment like we have to include them under this Consumer Protection Act. But now lawyers, they are getting exemption. So again here this case had been filed. This petition is taken up by, it is going to be taken up by larger bench for reconsideration of the judgment. And now let us see some facts regarding what does this Consumer Protection Act exactly means. So this Consumer Protection Act, which is aimed at protecting the interest of consumers with respect to products or services they avail. So this act which is protecting the consumers, okay, so consumers will be protected and the interest of consumers will be taken care of under this Consumer Protection Act. And the first version of this act was enacted in year 1986. So in year 1986 we came up with this act, and it was subsequently repealed, and the new act was brought in its place in 2019 to keep up with the challenging times. And now here a consumer who is unhappy with a product or service, so they can file a complaint of deficiency in this customer services under this Consumer Commission. So at this Consumer Commission, so now people, they can file a complaint if they are feeling unhappy or if they are unsatisfied about the services. And this Consumer Protection Act, which defines deficiency in services as any fault, imperfection, shortcoming or inadequacy in the quality, nature and manner of performance which is required to be maintained under the law. And next one is in 2019, so this act defines services as something that is made available to potential users, and it also includes the provision of facilities in the connection with banking. So what are the things which are included under this act? So we have banking services, insurance, transport, housing construction, entertainment, amusement, all these are included. Okay, now let us say what does this Apex Court rule in this Indian Medical Association versus VP Shanta case of 1995. So in this case, so it was 3-judge bench of Supreme Court. So this Supreme Court 3-judge bench said that doctors would be covered under this law. So there is no exception for this medical professionals or doctors. Okay, allowing the filing of several medical negligence lawsuits filed against doctor for deficiency in the service. So if you have watched some movies like Kabir, what is that? Kabir Singh? Okay, Kabir Singh, I think so. And next one is Arjun Reddy, the same movie in Telugu also. Many of you might knowing these movies, right? So that is regarding medicals. So in that movie, because of some negligence, so one patient died. Okay, but because there is some conspiracy was there, but if there is any negligence from these doctors or doing, then they will be investigated by this medical council. Yes or no? Medical association. Have you remembered that small clip? So if you remember that, then you can understand easily. So what is this case is talking about? So lawyers are exempted. They are also professionals. Even medical professionals or medical persons or like doctors, so they are also provide services, but these people, they are not exempted, but lawyers are exempting under this Consumer Protection Law. So if there is any negligence, so lawsuits can be filed against doctors if there is any deficiency in the service. So even have you saw that movie, one more Shah Rukh Khan movie recently, in that also one doctor. So in that movie, yeah, right now I am not getting that movie name. There were 3 events which will be shown in that movie. It is one of my favorite movie, but I can't recall the name. Okay, so in that movie also Jawan, so yeah, in that Jawan movie also doctor will be kept in the jail, or lawsuit is filed against her because of her negligence, but it is also one conspiracy. Okay, so in this, if you understand that scenes, so one thing I can say is I will watch lot of movies. So I am a lover of watching movie. It's my hobby actually. So by movie watching, so each and every second or every minute, so I will be watching with a keen understanding. So because of watching of movie only, I can see what is reality which is happening, because they will be showing, at least they will be mixing some masala so and so like that, but they will be giving something information, so what is going on the reality, right? So here, if you know that, and if you are watching that scenes here, then you can understand that yes, medical professionals, they are not exempted under this consumer protection law. And here the court also acknowledged that professional occupations are often skilled work, they require mental rather than manual effect. Okay, for professionals in their occupations, yes, they require proper skill, and mental status is very important rather than their manual effort. So this differs from other occupations, and success often depends upon the different factors like beyond the professional man control. So here now there are some arguments which are going on regarding exempting, whether we can exempt this medical professions from the purview of this Consumer Protection Act or not. So here, representing this Indian Medical Association, a senior advocate argued that medical practitioner cannot be judged based on the fixed norms or standards and cannot be covered under the CPA. So this is the one argument which is mainly seen. And legal proceedings under the CPA are heard by Consumer Redressal Commission. Okay, so that is the thing which mainly said. And here we have these commissions at the state level, at the district level, at the national level, local level, district level, and as well as at the state level and national level we have this. Okay, so under this 1986 version of this Consumer Protection Act, which is applicable in 1995, the president of each commission would be a person who was or qualified as a judge at High Court or District Court or Supreme Court respectively. So here, the problem here is the rest of the other members, they would be individuals who have the knowledge, experience or capacity to deal with the problems, and these problems are related to economics, law, commerce, accountancy, industry, public affairs or administration. But there is no one who is suited to deal with these medical issues. So this is also one problem. But in 2024 here, another Supreme Court bench is going to be appeared, and they are going to see this issue, whether this medical professions can be excluded from the CPA or not. Okay, and one more argument here you can see is, why does Apex Court not exempt this medical profession from this purview of Consumer Protection Act? So you have to know these arguments also, so that you can have a balanced opinion or the perspective. Okay, so if you see here, the court held that a doctor owes certain duties to their patients. For example, while they are providing the care, so they have to take utmost care, right? So whether to treat patient or what treatment they have to give, and how the treatment should be administered, and what time, so which is a dose, everything that should be the clear-cut idea that these medical professionals they should have. And if doctor does not exercise a reasonable degree or care here, and if there is a breach of one of these duties, they can be liable for the deficiency in the services. If they are not taking care, if they are not giving the right treatment, then they will be coming under deficiency in the service under the CPA. So members to have knowledge and experience that is specifically relevant to each case, that would lead to impossible situations, because it is related to life or death of the patient condition, right? Such a district commissions being able to deal with the cases that state commission would be barred from purely here. So here we have to take, like, there's a necessary need of evidences and materials to allow the members to take the informed decision, and we have to wait till Supreme Court judgment which will be given soon regarding this, whether we can exempt this medical professionals from this Consumer Protection Act or not. Clear? And now let us move on to next article. So this article you can see in this next page. So see this title once. So first it is talking about rising debt strains household savings. So this article is talking about household savings. Okay, so let me give an example. Let us take one middle class family. I want to make you understand how savings will go on. For example, in a middle class family of 4 members, like wife and husband and 2 kids, ultimately, who is the breadwinner? The father. For example, let us take father is getting 20,000 rupees as salary per month, and he is spending for rent, for their needs, basic needs, and for children education, so on. So what happens is, so for example, let us take for all these, they are spending 10,000 rupees per month, and remaining 10,000 will be their savings. So what is the savings here? So there is 10,000 rupees as savings. And what is the scenario is, if there is increasing of expenditure of this family, for example, there may be increasing of burden on education, or increasing of rent, or increasing of food prices, and now you are experiencing inflation, right? So if there is any increasing of expenditure of, for example, let us take 15,000 rupees, then how much they will be saving? So they will be saving 5,000 rupees. So remember this story, and now let us see what this article is saying about. Okay, let us see this article and let us see the notes of this article. So why it is in news? Because the household's net financial savings to GDP ratio is falling significantly. So if you see this here, it is talking about 2022 to 2023. So in this scenario of 2019 COVID, okay, so in COVID, so when it came around November, December, we identified this COVID in China, and later on in 2020 onwards, it had been started spreading to different countries. And your extreme pollution that we saw in the first wave and second wave, especially in India, that will be around 2020 to 2021. Right, so here if you see the year 2022 to 2023 onwards, the financial saving of households is decreasing rapidly. Why? Because there is increasing of expenditure. So that's the thing which mainly said here. So why? Because there is increasing of household borrowing. So whenever they are increasing their borrowing, that means they are getting into debt trap. Debt to income ratio will be higher. So because of this, interest payment will be very high, right? So because of this increasing of interest payment, and there is decreasing of household borrowings. So here you have to say like what is the way forward for this problem. Clear? And now let us see next article. It is about rope in NDRF ITBP to manage Char Dham crowd center tells Uttarakhand. So here this Char Dham is very important, because here there are 4 important pilgrimages under this Char Dham, right? So you have to see which are those 4 important pilgrimage centers. And actually from recently 14 days, from past 14 days onwards, there is increased crowd in this Char Dham. So because of this, in social media there are some videos which are becoming viral regarding chaos and as well as mismanagement of crowd. They are becoming very viral, so that now Uttarakhand state government is taking some steps. So how can you expect? Question is, in ethics you may get case study, like you are so and so government official in that state, and you find that there is mismanagement of crowd and increasing of things, or increasing of chaos, etc. So as a tourist ministry department or so and so, they will give some situation. So what are the steps you are going to take? So those steps, if you read this article clearly, you can see how the steps are taken by the government here. In the same way, if you are getting that type of case study, you can write like these are the steps that I can take, because those steps are practically doing by the government. So you can write those. Okay, so if you are seeing any disaster like floods, earthquakes, volcanoes, so what are the steps taken by the government, you have to go through that. So this is the way you have to write your answer in your case studies. So if you see this article, clearly you can understand around 9.5 lakh people they visited these 4 temples, Badrinath, Kedarnath, Gangotri and Yamunotri in past 14 days. So here government wants to control the people there. So government want to stop the new devotees to come, right? So here because of this, now state government requested them not to allow, okay, not to allow unregistered pilgrimages to undertake the yatra. So here state government took the data regarding so from which states the people are influxing into this Char Dham areas, and there are around 5 states. So there is an influx. The people from those 5 states are coming to this Uttarakhand. So now Uttarakhand state government took these steps and they said that so please stop giving registration or license or something to stop the influx of the people. And next one here is State Tourism Department also stopped offline registration had been stopped. Okay, and even they deployed some extra force to control this crowd like NDRF and ITBP etc. Okay, so in this way you can give at least 2 to 3 practical things that you can do in that so and so situation. Clear? I hope you understood what I am saying. Yes, now let us see this article in detail. Let us see the context. So with an unprecedented number of pilgrims visiting this Char Dham temples in Uttarakhand, and there are some videos of chaos and mismanagement going viral on the social media. So here because of this, Home Ministry started reviewing these arrangements of yatra in that Uttarakhand state. So around 9.5 lakhs people they visited these 4 places from past 14 days. So now I said about what the steps they are taking by the state government, right? And now I will give you some details regarding what does this Char Dham means. So Char Dham means nothing but we have Char means 4. Okay, for example Char Minar, 4 minars. Okay, it is 4 dhams. That is 4 religious places where they are located in Uttarakhand. And we have this religious circuit. So we are covering all these 4 places in one name, that is called as Char Dham. It is as simple as that. So which are those 4 places? Badrinath, Kedarnath, Gangotri and Yamunotri. So all these 4 shrines where they are located in Gaharwal Himalayas. So from this Himalayas also you can get a question regarding this pilgrimage centers in your prelims. You have to be prepared with that. And next one is, this is considered as most sacred religious places to be visited by Hindu and to get rid of their sins and to pave path to ultimate goals of human life, that is moksha. You have to visit that. It is according to Hindu mythology. And next one is Akha Trij or Akha Tej, which marks the beginning of Chota Char Dham Yatra. Okay, and this yatra which closed 2 days after Diwali on the day of Bhai Bij. So now we have to know about this, what is this Chota Char Dham Yatra. So here we are going to see about those 4 temples. So first one is Yamunotri. So first shrine of Chota Char Dham, this temple is dedicated to river Yamuna. Okay, that is Hindu goddesses. It is also called as daughter of sun god. Okay, and next one is, it is situated in this Gaharwal region of Uttarakhand state. And this one is, the temple is devoted to goddess Ganges. Okay, Gangotri is devoted to god of that is goddess Ganges. It is one of the most sacred rivers in India. And next one is Kedarnath. So this temple is devoted to god Shiva. And there are 12 Jyotirlingas and one main Jyotirlinga is Kedarnath. And next one is Badrinath. So this temple is dedicated to Lord Vishnu and it is also an important part of main Char Dham circuit in India, and it is also 4th shrine of Chota Char Dham Yatra. So these are the very important things that you have to know regarding this topic, and we did with the main important topics. And next one is, if you move on to news page, so I found this article about this Char Dham and I discussed. And one more very important topic, it is about industrial disaster. So 8 killed, over 50 injured in broiler blast at this Dombivli chemical plant. So whenever you are seeing this type of blast, that will comes under part of your disaster management under industrial disaster. So I will give you some dimensions. Actually nearby there is one construction going on. I think you are getting some sounds. So because of that I have to conclude. I took permission to complete within 25 to 30 minutes, but they didn't give me that time even. So I have to complete that fast. So first one, it is about industrial disaster. Okay, industrial disaster. So regarding this industrial disaster, we have CISF. You have to know that, not CISF. So you have to see which organization dealing with this industrial disaster, and you have to see about what are the reasons for this industrial disaster, and you have to see examples. So you can include this Bhopal gas tragedy. It is one of the deadliest industrial disaster in India. So from that point of view, you can cover this, right? And if you move on, I discussed about this Char Dham project, and in this business page also I found nothing much important. But in the last page, in the science, so you might be knowing about this blood scandal. Okay, so it is about blood scandal. So inquiry is going on regarding this contaminated blood scandal in UK. So actually there is some infectious blood injury led by former judge catalogs preventable failures by doctors and successive governments that led to decades of treatment disasters in UK. Okay, so you have to know about what is this contaminated blood scandal. So actually there was infected blood. So between the questions, like at least 3,000 people they died in UK because of transferring of infected blood. And Hemophilia Society, which estimated that around 680 people they have died since inquiry had been begun. And even an infected person still dies every 4 days, one in every 4 days in UK as per one estimate. Okay, so here you have to see why this is all going on. So because of lack of patient safety norms, and even patient safety norms are repeatedly ignored in UK. And next one is decision making is very slow, and autonomy and privacy were neglected, and even clinical freedom was abused, and there is lack of transparency and accountability in these cases. And this last point is very important, because if you're getting this type of scams, so what might be the reasons? So you have to write from ethical context. So here you can see this decision making, autonomy, privacy, and these transparency and accountability. So they are the directly keywords from our syllabus itself. So you have to know all those things, right? So these are the very important topics that appeared in our today's Hindu newspaper. Finally, at last, I want to make a small announcement. So if you are from Hyderabad, on 27th, that is on Monday, so we are going to have one event. We are planning one event. So in that event, we are going to felicitate our toppers, and the chief guest will be our CM sir brother, and even IAS officers and Joint Directorate of Telangana State. He is also like guest of honor and special guest for our event. So if you are from Hyderabad, you can come to the event on this 27th Monday, and I will be giving you the link of event and Google Maps and details, everything in this YouTube community. So if you're from Hyderabad, don't miss this event. Okay, so that's all for today. And if you really like this class, hit the like button and share this class to your friends, and also subscribe to Rathods IAS Academy. And if you want to take online or offline GS Foundation admissions, so you can call me on this number 8074765513. Okay, so thank you so much for watching.